In this video, I will show you how to calculate the average of the first n rows in Excel like this. So let's get started. Here in this Excel sheet, I have some order details including day names and amounts in these columns. Now I want to calculate the average of the order amounts for the first 3 weekdays, that is Monday to Wednesday. To calculate the average of the first n rows, we first need to get the first n number of rows from the dataset. We can use the Excel offset function to do that. The offset function returns a reference to a range, that is the number of rows or columns from the specified starting cell. This function accepts 5 arguments: a reference of the starting point, the number of rows to offset, the number of columns to offset, optional height in rows, and optional width in columns. For example, let's get the first 2 order amounts from the C column using the offset function. To do that, I will select cell C1 as the starting point. Since we want the data starting from the third row, that is 2 rows below the starting point C1, I will specify 2 as the row offset argument. We want the data from the same column, so the column offset argument will be 0. The height refers to how many rows of data we want, so that will be 2 amount cells. I will skip the width in columns argument because we want the data from only one column. As you can see, the offset function returned the first 2 amount cells as an array. We can also get the same 2 order amount cells by specifying the starting point as C3 instead of C1 and then specifying 0 as row offset instead of 2 like this. To get all the data cells from the day and amount columns, that is cells B3 to C9, I will specify cell B3 as the starting point. Since we want to start from the same cell without any offset, I will specify 0 as the row and column offset arguments. Since we want 7 rows starting from cell B3, I will specify the row height as 7. Finally, since we want the data from 2 columns starting from cell B3, I will specify 2 as the width in columns. As you can see, we now have all the data from day and amount columns, 7 rows in height and 2 columns in width as an array. Since we now know how to get the first n rows from the data, calculating average of them is very easy. Let's type an equal sign in the target cell to start the formula. Let's first get the first 3 amount cells using the offset function. I will specify C3 as the first starting point argument, 0 as the row and column offsets, and then select E3 cell as the row height argument. As you can see, this offset function will return the first 3 amount cells. Since we want to calculate the average of these 3 array elements, I will simply pass this offset function as an argument of the average function like this. Hit the enter key to complete the formula. As you can see, we now have the average of the first 3 rows. I have specified the number of rows argument as the E3 cell instead of hardcoding that directly into the formula. So we can change the number of rows without changing the formula to get the updated average dynamically. For example, changing the number of rows from 3 to 4 will give us the average of first 4 rows automatically. Watch these videos for more Excel tips, tricks, and how-to tutorials. If you found this video helpful, please like the video and subscribe to our channel.